I'd like you to explain women. What I mean by that is,
That's the hardest question we've ever had.
quick story. We'll explain why I asked that. I moved out here about 4 years ago and left a very unhealthy relationship and started to live my life for me and experience all the wonderful things that I wanted to do. Hiking, photography, horseback riding, just all the wonders that I really wanted to experience. And that was wonderful until I met a woman and we started dating. And she said, we're in a relationship, it's about compromise. And at that moment in time, something in my instinct said, no, this is not good. And instead of trusting that, for the past 3 years, I've compromised. And somehow, the cliche of I've lost myself in the relationship has come forth. And let's just say just recently I have ended that relationship for a variety of reasons. It just hasn't felt right. My question is, how do you walk that line and balance between doing what's right for you and making sure joy is your number one priority and compromise or being in a relationship considerate of others?
Well, we think you're really going to like this answer. We worked on it last night before you got here. When you have come to the clarity of understanding that if you're not selfish enough to feel good, that you don't have anything to give anyone else anyway. When you've reached that place where you really, really, really care about the way you feel, and you try to come together in a relationship with somebody who does not understand that, you're going to have a hard time with them because they're still in the place of thinking that you need to be the way they need you to be before they can feel good. And there's a part of you that wants so much for them to feel good that you will stand on your head in some different ways in order to help them feel good. But then all you do is say to them, you don't have to adjust your vibration, I'll just adjust my behavior. In the beginning, adjusting your behavior doesn't seem like too big of a price to pay, but it sort of gets out of hand fast,
right,
doesn't it? So, now, we'll say that in another way. Imagine the delicious co-creation of you knowing that you're the creator of your own reality, and your partner knowing that she is the creator of her own reality, and neither one of you holding the other one responsible for the way you feel. Both of you doing your best to feel good and looking for reasons to feel good about yourself, about each other, about the world in general. Can you imagine how wonderful it would be to come together with somebody who knows that? And yet most relationships are a little different. Most relationships say, oh, as you held me as your object of attention and appreciated me before you got to know me, before you found out what I'm really like, as you appreciated me because I showed you only my very best parts, especially in the beginning, as you appreciated me, you stayed connected to source energy. And then as you, in your connection to source energy, held me as your object of attention, you flooded all of this wonderful energy all over me, and it felt so good. And I'm sure that I'm in love with you because it feels so good to have this experience. But now both of us are in a little bit of trouble because now I am only able to show you the very best of me, because if I show you who I really am, you might not be able to feel that way about me. In other words, it's tension all the way around. So what you're really wanting to do, and we know that we're not encouraging you all go get rid of the relationships that you have, but it would be nice if you could. And then before you start a new relationship, some of you are in the perfect place, do you realize? Before you come together in your next relationship, that you come to the place of understanding that the way you feel is purely up to you. That you are no longer going to hold one other being responsible for the way you feel. That you've practiced yourself up the emotional scale on so many topics that now you are feeling pretty good about almost everything, and now you're in a place that the universe is going to bring to you somebody who's very much in that same vibrational place. We were visiting with a woman one day who was talking about her son, and she was lamenting the fact that her son could not seem to find a partner, and she wanted us to help him. And she said, will it be soon that he will find someone? And we said, hopefully not. And she was shocked because she thought a partner, a girlfriend, was the answer to all of his depression. She said, why would you not want him to find someone? And we said, because if he finds someone now, she'll be just like him. She won't like herself. She will be unemployed. She will not have a sense of where she's going. In other words, she'll be as lost as he is. And then they will just blame each other. And she said, that's what's been happening. And so what we're saying to you is you're in a very good place. You say you've been in the process of coming back. And it sounds strange, we know, to people who are in wonderful relationships. And many people say and really mean that relationships are all about compromise. Esther laughs because one of the things, she loves doing things that surprise Jerry or that please Jerry. And sometimes she'll say to him, you know, our relationship is really sick because it really is important to me that you are happy. But then she will say, but on the other hand, I am happy about your being happy. So where do we start drawing the lines? In other words, how do we decide who should do what? If we've got a recipe where we're both mostly happy, then we've got something that's going pretty well. And if we've got a recipe where one seems to be happy and one is miserable, then not a very good recipe. But the important thing is not to ask the other one to do something different in order to bring it into alignment. If you take the power into your own hands of making yourself feel better no matter where you are, anything can get to the place that you want it to be. There really is not anyone on the planet with whom you could not have a wonderful relationship. And we know that sounds odd because you have personal preferences that you have been honing. And certainly we want all of your personal preferences to be satisfied. But just as we were saying to our friend earlier about you come into these bodies with an essence of something that you want, if you will start focusing upon the essence of what you want in a relationship, which means not only how you want her to look or how you want her to sound, but even more importantly, how you want to feel when you are with her. How do I want to feel? I want to feel loved. I want to feel appreciated. I want to feel appreciation. I want to feel confident. I want to feel capable.
I've done that. I've created that. That's on its way. I just want to make sure that when it happens, I don't lose myself again.
Well, in the meantime, practice it on lots of other things. In other words, practice bringing yourself to the place of feeling good first. And we think that all of you have heard enough today about the importance of the way you feel. In other words, first of all, don't feel bad about negative emotion. Men commonly feel bad about negative emotion. I'm not supposed to be sensitive, they will say. I'm not supposed to even show or have emotion. And we say, oh, so you are the gender that was born without a guidance system? Women would like to tell you that. Yes, just follow what I say and you'll be fine. But you were born with a guidance system, and
Yes.
you do have strong feelings about things, and it is important for you to reach for the thoughts that feel best. It feels to us as if you are clear about what you want, but it does not feel to us that you are yet a vibrational match to what you want. It's all sort of new. And so you are still doing a little bit what most people do after leaving a relationship. You are sure about what you don't want in the next one, then you are offering vibrations about what you do want. That's how you got this last one. And so just begin saying general things like, I learn as I go. Say general things such as, things always work out for me. Say general things such as, the selection process is going to be fun. Say general things such as, I'm in the process of bringing myself into vibrational alignment with me, while my partner is in the process of bringing herself into vibrational alignment with her. And I expect that when the universe lines up a rendezvous for us, and I know it will, that we will recognize each other.
That feels good.
Now here is the most important thing that we could ever say to you or to anyone about a relationship. Don't look for the person who's going to be perfect for you as you evolve. Look for the person who is perfect for you now and evolve together. Because that's what goes wrong with so many. They say, well, I want someone that'll be perfect for me 5 years and 10 years. In other words, I'm trying to find the perfect mate forever and ever. And you can't possibly attract to yourself that which you have not become. Are you hearing that? That will trip you up every time. Instead say, I am looking for someone who's tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And I am working on being the same. And as we are both in vibrational alignment with who we are, then we will evolve joyously together.
That sounds good.
It is good.
I have two other questions, if that's okay. One is pretty uncomfortable, but I figure that means I need to say it.
Now, wait. I'm almost certain that in beating this drum, I'm going to feel discomfort. So that means I should?
Exploring something that is taboo, so to speak. I was hoping you could explain the power or the message behind the male sex drive, if that makes sense. What I mean is, it's something I've tried to push down because I don't understand it. The male sex drive, at least in me, seems to be quite strong. So much so that I don't know what to do with it because it seems dangerous to play with. So I put it away, if that makes any sense. And it's so powerful that it's obviously there for a reason. It just seems, in all areas of my life...
Well, it is interesting to us that you're having such a hard time, bless your heart, talking about something that you've become so convinced is taboo, when it is the thing that is most necessary and responsible for the perpetuation of life on this planet. In other words, what a twisted thing has happened to something that is essential to your existence. And we want to start by talking about how so many who don't understand alignment with Source and the value of following your own guidance are trying to guide you and everybody else from the outside. And so it's interesting how commonly they take something that is so powerfully felt within you and legislate around it in order to try to gain some sense of control. It's interesting to us how many religions and how many laws are formulated around this subject, and how many teenagers in the back seats of cars suffer in guilt even though they cannot stop themselves from the inevitable. In other words, we could be having the same discussion about your craving for food. The only difference is no one's made a law yet about that. In other words, if there were a law that only a drop of water were allowed every day, we would be having this discussion about water. Over time, you would come to believe in whatever it is they were saying. You'd be saying, I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep getting thirsty. I keep getting thirsty, and I can't seem to suppress it. I try not to be thirsty, but I am thirsty.
My guidance system is very, very tuned in. When I listen to it, it's absolutely correct all the time. And I have a pretty easy time listening to it with everything in life. But I seem to run into static in relation to women and sex. And something inside of me will say, no, this is not right. And something else inside of me will say, but we can make it work. And I get confused, and I get
is your confusion more about the commitment to one when your sex drive is interested in many?
It's almost like my emotions, I can't have sex with a woman unless I'm emotionally attached to them. And then when I get emotionally attached, I just get all mixed up in the emotions that go along with that. And I'm not really clear about it, I guess, is why
let's approach it from another standpoint for just a moment. It will feel off the subject, but it really isn't. Let's talk about the subject of having one sexual partner or having many sexual partners. So let's say that through your religious training or through your interaction with your own family, things that you learned from them, that you are someone who has come to the place of believing that there should be emotional commitment and that you should not have sex with someone that you are not emotionally committed to, maybe even married to. And that you have come to believe through what you've practiced with your thoughts and what you've observed and what you've heard from those that were close around you, that this is the way that it should be. It should be one partner. And so, as you are focused that way and feeling that way, it would be a wonderful thing for the universe to line you up with someone who feels exactly the same way. And you could have a wonderful relationship. In like manner, let's say that you did not have any of that religious training, and you were brought up to see a much more free lifestyle around the subject of sexuality, and you didn't have any what religious people or any people might call sexual hang-ups about it, and you like the idea of having many sexual partners, and you don't feel any discomfort about it. In other words, we're not talking about any contradiction of vibration within you. We're going to come back to that in a moment. So you're in alignment with that idea. Wouldn't it be nice if the universe would just bring to you, and it will, a partner or a multitude of partners that all feel the same way? In other words, it is delicious and perfect co-creation.